So as it turns out, I had made good progress on this, and then my neighbor knocked at the door, and I got distracted for quite a while. So we're starting again. So I'm going to start from the beginning on this and see how we can do. So I want to start off by draw sky, scene, and draw ground, scene. And let's see what we can do with those. So def, draw sky. We'll just start there. Def, draw ground. Ooh. Ground, scene. Okay. So for the sky, we're going to scene.canvas. Wow. Dot create rectangle. And we're going to start from the upper left hand corner, and we're going to go over to the scene width, and we're going to go to sky height, which I have not defined yet. And fill equals, since I've already done this once, I know I want to put a variable there, and outline equals sky color. And so now I need to define sky color equals blue. And I want to do a sky height up here, and that's going to be part of my scene. So def sky height self return 0.6 times scene height, and I'm going to do a ground height. Whoops, haven't used it, so I can't complete it. Self return scene height minus sky height. And why do I do that? It's so that if I want to change the division between the sky and the ground, I just have to change this number. And I guess we can show that as soon as I actually draw in the sky and the ground. So we'll do a ground color equals, and this is where I found out I had to do an 80-40-0 to get the brown that I want. And actually, it's going to be very similar to this, so we're just going to copy this. And it's going to be 0 sky height, scene.sky height, XY, scene width, and I'm going to make it scene height so that my ground and my sky always implicitly cover the whole scene. So let's see what we get there. What? Sky color is not defined. And why is that? Sky color. That's in line 65. Oh, it's sky color. I want ground color. There we go. Let's try that. Okay, so I've got my sky and my ground. And like I said, if I want to change their relationship to each other, I just change that number and I get more sky and less ground. Or I get less sky and more ground. And I just have to change that one number, and that just moves this boundary up or down appropriately. So now we were going to talk about random stuff. So we're going to talk about clouds. And actually, I'm going to draw a number of clouds. So I'm going to say 4, and I don't care about the iteration variable, so I'm just going to give it that obscure name underscore in range 6. So I'm going to draw 6 clouds. And so let's look at what a cloud is going to look like. Def, draw cloud, scene. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to have a bunch of ellipses that are all close to each other and overlap so they look kind of blobby. All right? So I'm going to start off by defining a box that the ellipses are going to fit inside. So I'm going to say cloud top. So this is actually let's do left, cloud left. This is the left-hand side of the box that all the ellipses are going to fit in. Cloud left equals random.randint. We'll go from 0 to, how far over do I want to go? We'll let it be scene width, okay? And then cloud top is going to be random dot randint 0 to sky height, which is a function, so I have to say scene.skyHeight. And I've got a dog crying, sorry. Brief interruption here. Yes, that graceful sound was me running into the door. What can I say? Okay, now we're going to have a cloud width, and that's going to be a minimum of 100 plus some random amount. So my clouds will be different sizes. Random dot randint 0 to 50. So the narrowest my cloud can be is 100 pixels, and the widest can be as 100 plus 50, 150. And likewise, I'm going to have a cloud height equals, and we'll make that 50 plus random dot randint 0.25. So what am I doing here? Basically, I'm scaling so that my clouds will be wider than they are tall. So the minimum height is half as tall as the minimum width, and then the randomness is also half as much as up here. So it could be as high as 75, which would still be shorter than the minimum width, which is 100. All right? So now I'm going to say I want to put four, how many blobs do I want in there? In range, and we'll just go for 8 to start off with and see what happens with that. Scene.canvas.create, is it oval? You'd think I would remember that. Okay, so it's going to be, well, let's see. So I've got an X, so it's going to be cloud left plus some offset. So we'll make that random.randint. So probably half the width, shall we say? And that's got to be 0 through cloud width over 2. And by the way, it's going to get upset if that's not an integer. So I need to put int on that. So my left hand, in fact, let's make this explicit what I'm doing, okay? So I'm going to say x offset is equal to some random value to up to half as wide as the cloud box, okay? So this defines a box, which I'm not necessarily going to fill in. I'm just going to use this to limit where my cloud blobs can be. And so the offset will be anywhere from 0 to half the width. And so the y offset, similarly, is going to be random.randint 0 int cloud height over 2. So if I had a box, and I don't really have a place to draw here, but if I had a box that was a certain height and width, and that doesn't make a good rectangle, they're always going to start in the upper left-hand fourth of the box. And then I'm going to have a blob width, which is equal to random.randint. And that's going to be cloud width over 4 up to cloud width over 2. And now, and those need to be ints as well. So what I'm saying is the narrowest one of my blobs can be is a fourth as wide as my box. And the widest it can be is half as wide as my box. So since it can start no further over than half as far over as my box, halfway across the box, and can be no wider than half as wide as the box, it will never go past the right-hand side of the box, all right? I talked about that a little bit the last time I did clouds, but I didn't explain my reasoning very well. So I hope that helps. And so I've got a blob height, which is going to look much the same. And so we're going to copy that, and we'll say cloud height and cloud height. So now the position for starting the cloud is going to be cloud left, or the blob, plus x offset. And I probably should have called that blob offset instead of x offset. Let's do that just so our naming is a little more consistent. So we're going to rename each instance of x offset with blob offset. Okay, and then we're going to name this blob offset, oh, that's blob x offset. Ah, silly boy. Now I've broken everything, haven't I? Blob y offset plus blob x offset, and then the top is going to be cloud top plus blob y offset, and then the right hand side is going to be all of this plus the blob width, and the height is going to be, maybe we'll put that down here. Whoops, sorry about that. Plus blob height. And then the color is going to be, well, I didn't do a blob color, did I? Outline is going to be blob color. So I need to define what the blob color is. And so let's go over what I've done so far, though. We'll just fill in blob color as a constant for right now. Equals pound FE. Let's do that. So that's going to be some shade of gray just off of white. So I've calculated an offset and a width and a height for each blob and a color, and then I'm going to draw that blob. Let's see what that looks like so far, shall we? Oh, we made an error here. What error did we make? It's line 221. Whoops. Oh, it's in random 221, so I need to go before that. It's in my file, so in randomGraphics it's line 71. And non-integer stop for rand range. I thought sky height. Oh, sky height is not guaranteed to be an integer, is it? But there's no reason why it shouldn't be. So instead of fixing this down below, I'm going to fix it here so that sky height is always an integer. And although technically it's kind of guaranteed by my logic, I'm going to force that one to be an integer as well. Okay? Now that could leave us a gap at the bottom of the scene, I guess. Probably not. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, so we try it again. All right. Well, gee, those look kind of like clouds. The only thing that I really am lacking is, well, for one thing, I'd like them to be bigger. I want my clouds to be cloudier. So where did I do width and height? So here's my minimum width. So I'm going to increase that to 150 plus 75, and I'm going to make this one 75 and 37. Well, okay, that's getting kind of painful. So actually what we ought to do is, so box scale. We're just going to call this scale, okay? We're going to make that equal to 150. And so this is now box scale plus random randint int box scale over 2, right? And this is now box scale over 2 plus random randint 0 to box scale over 4. Now I've still got random or magic numbers scattered around here, 2s and 4s, but it's a little bit less than I had before. And so now I can change my cloud size just by changing that number. So let's try that. Whoops! Once again, we've got a non-integer stop, and it's at line 74. And so my cloud height didn't get turned into an int. And so I thought oh, I didn't put an int here. Sorry, missed that. Okay. Let's try that. See what happens. Okay. Now I've got slightly larger clouds. I still want them larger than that. We're going to double the size. Wow. Now they seem to be, of course, they're starting to merge together now. So maybe we'll back off on the size a little bit. Okay, now they look a little more cloudy. And so you can see I'm using random values, but I have limited them so that the random blobs stay close to each other and overlap each other. Now I've got one blob here that kind of seems to run out by itself. So when it's random, it's not always going to be perfect, and you have to decide what you want to do. Do I want to limit those more? Do I want to increase the size, for example? And so you can play around with your randomness, but you're not trying to fix it to be exactly anything. So now let's do a random color, or let's do a create color random dot randint. You'd think I'd remember that eventually. I know that FF is 255. So I want to go from 245 to 255. So now I need create color, and that's the one that's going to def create color value, and this needs to turn that value into a hex number and triplicate it so that I get red, green, and blue all the same value. Actually, there's an RGB that works for that. Let's see. How can we do that? I think we just say, well, we saw it over here a moment ago. RGB, and we just give it the 3 colors. Python specify RGB color. Matplotlib, that's not what I want. Ooh, there isn't an RGB. All right, Python format hex number. Format ints 0xx. That does look awkward. 02x %i. I still don't like any of these. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. How did I know that's what I was looking for? Because I knew roughly what it should look like. Oh, it's I. So I need to do value here. And then I'm going to go ahead and print this 3 times. I could do a loop, do something fancy like this, but this will work well enough. Okay, so let's try that. Whoops, unknown color name, because I didn't put the pound there. There we go. Now our clouds have some color inside of them. Now you'll notice that for some reason they're all going way off to the right hand side. Why is that? So my left should be evenly distributed across the scene. I'm probably drawing them wrong. So left plus blob offset x, y. Let's make these on separate lines. So I've got x, y. No, my blob offset is from 0, so it should stay close to the left and top. So I'm not quite sure why. I could do that. But that forces them all to the left-hand side. So this may just be a case of randomness not being perfect. Okay. So I'm not real happy with the clouds, but we've spent enough time messing with clouds already anyway. Now let's talk about some trees. All right. So I'm going to do pretty simple trees. I'm just going to do a green triangle on top of a tan trunk so that my tan doesn't blend into my brown ground. No, actually, that doesn't accomplish much beyond what I've already done with cloud, does it? Well, okay, we can show a little bit, a slightly different way of doing randomness. So draw scene. Now we're going to, for underscore in range 4, draw tree, scene, and I'm going to put a scale factor in here. And my scale factor is going to be random.random. I think that gives me a number from 0 to 1. Let's see. Python random.random. Random.rand. See what that does. Basic function random semi-open range 0 to 1. Oh, okay. So my scale factor is going to be from 0 to 1. Let's make it 0.5 plus some random over 2. So what that's going to do is it means the minimum value I can get is half, and the maximum value I can get is half plus half, or 1. So that's going to scale my trees from 0 to 1. So now I need to do a def draw tree scene scale. And so now, once again, I've got to have a, let's start off with just drawing a tree, okay? So what's a tree going to look like? A tree is going to be we're going to define a tree height, and trees are going to be we're just going to start off with making them 200 pixels tall. And so now we've got a triangle height equals 0.8 times tree height. So the green triangle on top of my tree is going to be 80% of the tree's height. All right? So now I can draw it. Oh, I need a width also, don't I? Tree width equals, and we're going to make this 0.33 times tree height. So my triangle is going to be 1/3 as wide as it is tall. Now I can do scene dot canvas dot create polygon, and I'm going to start from, oh, I need a tree X, don't I? So tree X equals, and this is going to be the center of the tree, all right? So tree X is going to be random.randint 0 scene width, and tree Y is going to be random.randint I want them to be in the ground, so technically what I want is scene height minus scene dot ground height. Tree Y is going to be in the range of scene height, scene dot height, or scene dot ground height. Okay, so it'll be between the horizon and it's between the horizon and the height of the ground. So I really want scene height there. Is that right? No. I'm getting too fancy here. So let's just make it sky height. So it's going to start between the sky height and the scene height. So this depends on the ground and the sky filling the whole scene. If I later change it so there's something between them, this is going to break. But for the moment, we'll leave it like that. Okay, so this is the, well, this is the bottom of the tree. So this is the bottom of the tree, and this is the middle of the tree, because I want my tree to be in the ground. That's what this is saying. All right, so now I'm going to draw a polygon. I'm going to start from the top of the tree. So the x offset is tree x plus tree width over 2. No, I said tree x was the center of the tree. So, no, it starts at tree x. Okay. And the y coordinate of that is tree y minus tree height. So this looks different than some of the others I've done because I'm drawing from the bottom. I'm drawing relative to the bottom of the tree rather than the top of the tree. See how this works. Now I need to go to the bottom left-hand corner, so that's tree x minus tree width over 2, and that's going down to tree y I'm making this really complicated. So I'm having troubles visualizing it is the problem. I can no longer see what I'm trying to do. All right, so it's tree y minus tree height. Tree y is the bottom of the tree. Tree height is total. Okay. So now it's tree y minus tree height. So I'm duplicating that plus triangle height. There we go. Okay. So that's the y coordinate of the lower left-hand corner. Now I'm going to go to tree x plus tree width over 2. And the y coordinate is going to be the same, right? I should probably make a variable for that, but for the moment we'll leave it like that. See what we have. Fill equals tree green, outline equals tree green. Obviously I need to define tree green. So that does the triangle, and maybe we'll just let tree green be a variable instead of a function. And so we'll get rid of that there. And let's call tree green equals, for the moment we'll just try green and see what happens. Now we need to draw the trunk. Scene.canvas dot create rectangle. So basically I've got a trunk height equals tree height minus triangle height. Let's swap those two lines there. And I've got a trunk width equals, I'm going to make this relative to the tree width. We'll see how that goes, all right? 0.2 times tree width. So the height of the trunk is proportionate to the height of the tree. The width of the trunk is proportionate to the width of the tree. So now I need to do, so my x coordinate is going to be tree x minus trunk width over 2 to go halfway back the width of the trunk. The y coordinate is going to be tree y minus trunk height. So that's the upper left hand corner of the trunk. The right, upper right, oh, lower right. So it's got to be tree x plus trunk width. Come on. Trunk width over 2. And it's got to be tree y, because it stops at the bottom of the tree, which is what tree y is. And then it's going to be fill equals tree brown, outline equals tree brown. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so now all we need to do is define tree brown. Now, what color do I want this to be? I want it to be something lighter than my ground color. And I could make ground color a global and scale to it, or we'll just try going a little bit brighter and see what happens. Okay, I can always mess with that later. So it's no longer proportional to the ground color. I've made it its own color. So let's see what this gives us. Tree green is not defined. Well, that's really too bad. It would have helped if I had spelled that correctly. There we go. Well, looks pretty good. Why did this one go below the picture? All of these are below the picture. So that must mean my tree Y is too high. So it goes from scene.sky height. Let's try scene height minus scene.ground height. Should be the same thing, but let's see what that does. Okay, they've scattered them around a little more. And again, it may just be that my randomness doesn't always fall where I want it to. But they're all the same size. I didn't use the scale factor, right? So how can I use the scale factor? Well, in fact, all I need to do is multiply this times scale. And then, if I write that out and draw it, now they're different sizes as well. Hello, this is John. I'm home, yeah. Oh, sure, I'll do that. Alrighty. Okay. Love you too. Bye. Sorry, just added something to my honey-do list. Please remind me not to forget it. I didn't like how little those trees were, so I'm going to make them bigger. And look at that. Okay, so now I've got clouds and trees and ground. The trees are randomly spaced and they're randomly sized, but they're all the same shape. That's what the scale factor did for me. The clouds, well, they're pretty much the same, but they're built up of random elements as well. Still doesn't look like 6 clouds to me. But hopefully there's a lot more talking there about how to use randomness. There are even more things I could do. One thing is you might want the trees to be all the same size but use perspective as the scale. That's a lot more complicated than what I've done here. Basically, well, okay, I can still do that. Instead of passing in scale, let's see, where's draw So instead of passing in scale, I would make scale a factor of the y, because the y makes us think how far away it is, right? So now, tree y, so the larger my tree y, the smaller the scale, right? So I want to say, we can start off just by saying tree y and see what that does for us, okay? Wow. It made all of our trees disappear. That's probably not a good thing, is it? Oh, because tree y is a large number compared to 300. So let's make it tree y over scene dot ground height. Does it sound like I'm just playing around? I really am. I could try and work this out on paper, but another way to do it is just draw it and see what it looks like. The trees in the distance are bigger than the trees close in. Not what we wanted. So probably that means that what I really want is scene.ground height over tree y. That doesn't sound right. Let's see what happens. And I'm sorry about the dog crying in the background. He's placing... oh, okay. So now the closer ones are bigger, the further ones are smaller. Now they're all too big, so maybe we'll make this 200. Now let's make it 100. And then we'll see why in a moment. They're all going too low, though. Why are they going too low? Do I have any tree y plus anything? Tree y minus, minus. Why are they going off the bottom of the scene? I don't know. That's disappointing. Yeah, so it doesn't always happen. But now let's see what happens if I do a bunch of trees. So instead of 4 trees, I'm going to do 20 trees. Let's see what that looks like. Well, they're obviously not enough bigger in the foreground. Oh, and also I'm not drawing the background ones first. So this is when it would get complicated. In this case, I would have to generate a set of y's of, yeah. So I would do something like tree y's equals that. And then I would say for something in range 20, tree y's dot append, I think, random dot randint, and now it's getting, like I said, this is going to get complicated because it's actually this right here. This is what I want. So this goes here, and then I've got to say sort tree y's, and now I've got to say tree y in tree y's, draw scene tree y. Ooh, good typing there. Almost. Tree y. And not there. That's clouds. Clouds don't need tree y. Trees need tree y. Now it should go from, probably I'm going the wrong direction. Blob Y offset, where is that? Oh. There we go. What I wanted was somebody going to tell me that? Gosh. You're supposed to save me from making silly mistakes like that. Okay. All right, now it's the correct tree Y. Blob Y is there. Go back to tree Y here. I can get rid of tree Y. And now invalid syntax, line 61. Oh. For underscore, this, I don't know what's wrong with that, but that's not what I want anymore, is it? I want I need the other one there. Okay, now I need to do tree Y in tree Y's. Let's see if that works. Okay, and in fact I'm still drawing them in the wrong order. I'm going front to back instead of back to front. And so now I need to sort in reverse order. And let's see what that is. Reverse sort. Reverse equals. So I probably want reverse equals true, right? Yep. Okay. So where's my sort? Reverse equals true. So now, what? Oh, you know full well what I meant. Where's my sort? I don't have a sort? Did I wipe it out? I wiped it out. Okay, so I've got to do sort tree-wise reverse equals true. Wow. Okay. Name sort is not found. Really? Sort. Well, it's a method of list. Oh, excuse me. I call it as a function. So, treewise dot sort reverse equals true. Okay. Are we getting closer? There we go. I didn't need reverse equals true. It's because I wasn't sorting them before. Is that right? Okay, there we go. So now the smaller ones are in back. Probably need to make them get smaller faster. And so, where's my scaling? Draw a tree, scaling is here. So I need this to be 3 times. See what that does for us. Ew, makes them too small. Well, all right, so I've got some working to do. I can't, between my honeydew list and the dog crying, I'm not concentrating well enough to do this right. But at least we've got the ones in the foreground are larger, the ones in the background are smaller. They should get smaller faster, and so I need to look at my equation for scaling. And it still doesn't fill in really well, but of course, I could just put more trees in by putting 50 there, right? And now we got more trees, etc. So, not foolproof, but gives you a little more ideas about what you can do with randomness, controlling randomness, and using randomness to your own advantage. So even though I did random sizes, I then sorted them so that they went up in a so they went from smallest to largest. Hope that wasn't too confusing, but it probably was. But thanks for watching.